So you fellas remember Ghostbusters? No, not this one. I don't even know what this is. Yeah, this one. It's definitely one of the better supernatural comedy movies around, and it aged like fine wine. It came out all the way back in '84 and it's still great. Keeps getting better every time I watch it. So, as with many successful everything, they decided to make lots of merchandise related in some way to the movie. That includes video games. Unfortunately. Yeah, the original Ghostbusters movie didn't exactly get great video games. The movie got a video game adaptation for Commodore 64 that was later ported to several other computers, and eventually to NES and the Sega Master System. I think we all know how that turned out.
God damn it!
I won't talk about that game since it's not the subject of this video, and chances are you already know plenty about it. Instead, we're going to look at a game adaptation of the second movie. And, funnily enough, while Ghostbusters 2 is widely considered to be an inferior movie, although I still like it a lot, it got a great video game adaptation. Namely, this game, called New Ghostbusters 2. It has been developed by HAL Laboratory of all people. Satoru Iwata was even a technical supervisor for it. Look, there he is, right there in the credits. New Ghostbusters 2 came out for the NES on December 26, 1990, in Japan. Then it came out in Europe, in 1992. And North America didn't get this game at all, although there is a prototype of a US version. At the time, the license for making video games based on the Ghostbusters was held by Activision. Apparently there were some licensing issues that prevented the game from being published in the USA. Instead, Activision released their own NES game in America. This one. I wouldn't say it's bad, but it certainly isn't very good either. And it's definitely a lot worse than the HAL's game. Anyway, let's move on to the game itself. When you boot the game, you will be greeted by this cool title screen. I think it sets the tone for the game just right. The theater, Slimer coming in for the screen, and Ghostbusters chasing him, while the theme song is playing in the background. This is very nice, already much better than Activision's games. Actually, that's not entirely fair. Activision's Ghostbusters 2 at least has a good soundtrack. After you press start, you will be presented with the character select screen. Here are all the main Ghostbusters. And look, even Louis Tally is here. Every character is visually distinct too. Venkman has his haircut, Ray got this fancy equipment on his head, Winston has dark green skin, Louis has glasses and messy hair, and Negan has a nose. And everyone else doesn't. What a bunch of noseless losers. Anyway, you have to choose two characters, one to fire the proton beam and the other to use the trap. This is the core mechanic of the game. The player takes direct control of the first character, called the Beamer by the game, to attack the ghosts, while the second character, controlled by the computer, will be trapping the ghosts. The gameplay cycle consists entirely of navigating the levels room to room and catching whatever ghosts are there. The controls are very simple. D-pad moves the Beamer, A-button shoots the proton beam, and beam makes the other guy use the trap. When you hit a ghost with the beam, you hold the button down to keep it stunned, while the trapper moves in position to trap the ghost. You are also capable of moving around while holding a ghost down with the proton beam, like this. The beam does have a limited range though, so if you move too far away from the stunned enemy, it will stop working. Now, since the other character is controlled by the AI, it can potentially result in many issues, ranging from having to babysit your partner to pathfinding and body blocking. Thankfully, the game avoids most of those issues. For one, the partner character doesn't collide with anything except the terrain. He can't be damaged by the enemies or block your path. Unfortunately, it isn't as great when it comes to pathfinding. Usually it works pretty well with the trapper following the Beamer closely and moving towards the stunned ghost using the shortest path available. His AI even recognizes that the trap can go for the walls. But sometimes he just goes apeshit and starts running all over the place, usually along the walls. That can be pretty annoying sometimes. Though I didn't have this issue as much in my second playthrough, so I don't know. Maybe Venkman here is just being a dick. Yeah, look at him go. What the hell. Thankfully, when this issue does arise, it's an annoying inconvenience at worst. I never died because of it. Actually, I didn't die much at all in this game. It's certainly on the easier side, even more so in the European version that has fewer enemies in some room compared to the Japanese version. You still can doze off during gameplay though. There is no life bar, and the player-controlled character dies in one hit, so you still have to be careful. The difficulty also increases steadily as you move through the game. While the first stage is more or less a cakewalk, others introduce new enemies. Stage 3, for example, has fast-moving and teleporting enemies that might get you when you least expect it. While Stage 4 has these Slimers that throw projectiles, which makes them the most dangerous enemies in the game. Speaking of the Slimers, there is an okay enemy variety in the game. In addition to enemies that are shared between the stages like the aforementioned Slimers, there are enemies that are unique to the stage, or at least a stage-appropriate sprite swap of another enemy, like these Miner Ghosts. The bosses are also pretty good despite being easy. My favorite being the boss of Stage 5. The final boss is a pushover though, which is pretty disappointing. The stages themselves are, for the most part, pretty simplistic in design, with only stage hazard that is not enemy related being the slime in Stage 4, which moves in different currents. Stage 3 commits the sin of literally reusing the same rooms over and over, with enemy placement being the only difference. But on the other hand, visually the stages look pretty good and distinct from one another, with each of them being based on a scene from a movie. Stage 1 is the courthouse, Stage 2 is the abandoned metro line, and so on. Another thing they took directly from the movie is the soundtrack, with almost every track being an 8-bit rendition of a song from the movie. Music aside, sound effects are all very good as well. It would be very easy to make the proton beam sound ear-grating, but no, it sounds alright. They even made this cool laughing sound for the ghosts. Overall, this game is pretty good despite being simplistic. It isn't that challenging, and gameplay is pretty lacking in variety, but it doesn't last long enough to become repetitive. My first playthrough for the video took a little under an hour, and that's with 2 game overs, all of which were on Stage 5. If you want the game to be more of a challenge, you can change the difficulty in the secret menu, which you access by holding A and B, then pressing start on the title screen. Here, you can change how many lives you'll have and how often you'll be getting extra lives. It doesn't affect anything else in the game though. The last thing to mention is the Game Boy version, released on October 16, 1990 in Japan, 2 months earlier than the Japanese release of the NES version. And this one did actually make it to North America. The overall look of the game is the same, but the gameplay structure is actually pretty different. While the objective is still to bust every ghost in a stage, the stages themselves have been separated into floors, with each floor being a closed-off arena. And right off the bat, the layouts feel labyrinthine and incredibly annoying to navigate. By itself it isn't that bad, but there is a time limit and the ghosts aren't just sitting and waiting to be caught. They appear in specific order and you have to figure that order out. My worst fear of annoying proton beam sound is also realized here. Now this is a sound that makes people want to commit war crimes. Trapper's pathfinding, if you can call it that, is awful. He tries to stick close to the beamer, but his AI clearly doesn't understand the concept of going around obstacles and needs to be led. Oh, and the Trapper can be hurt in this version. So not only you have to deal with the obnoxious pathfinding, you also have to make sure this brainless ape doesn't get hurt. The Trapper also now collides with the beamer, so they can body block each other. The few good things that I can say about this version is that you actually switch between the characters in a stage, and there are cool power-ups like this one that stuns all the ghosts, allowing you to trap them without using a beam, and others of that sort. I didn't play this version enough to completely figure out how it works since it didn't feel as fun, but it's clear that the NES version is a huge improvement over this one. They clearly knew which problems there were, and then fixed them for the NES version. A good example of learning from your mistakes. I definitely recommend checking out the NES version if you want to play a cool Ghostbusters game on a free evening. It's tightly designed, and it doesn't become repetitive due to how short it is. Like with all licensed games from the times of yore, you can't buy it officially from anywhere, so to get it, you'll have to look for it in the second-hand market or resort to other unnatural means. Thank you for watching this video, dear viewer. If you liked what you just watched, let me know by clicking the like button or writing a comment. If you didn't like it, still write a comment, I'd appreciate any kind of feedback, really. That Guilty Gear Strive character breakdown is still in the works, I just really underestimated how big it would be. so I decided to make a smaller video in the meantime. I don't get much time to work on it, but I hope to finish it by the end of December. Keep on rocking and I'll see you next time. I hope Ghostbusters Afterlife will be good.